everyone. Good afternoon. To make sure I have room on my camera. Looks like I'm just about out of space, and that's fine. That limits me to about 11 minutes and 58 seconds from here. And that's probably a good thing, because I tend to ramble a lot. And how y'all doing? You know, I just wanted to make a video to kind of touch base with my subscribers mostly, which is what I do more than just trying to make content. I'm not a big fan of content farms or the idea of just always having something that's really clickbaity. And that led me into a post the other day about how the internet has failed us. And the response I got was interesting, you know, because a couple people said, could you expand on this issue? So I tried to do a live cast that night or the next night. Completely failed. I'm using this crappy phone that still... Gonna go get another one, I swear. Can't find my camera anywhere. I think I might have lost it. Sucks. And my other one's broken. So anyway, that aside, that live cast cut off and I never got to finish my thoughts. And you know, I think people have a lot of mixed feelings on the internet. And when I say the internet, to anyone who's under 40, the internet is all you know. I mean, it was just part of life, at least from, you know, your teen years, maybe under 30. But I would say that anyone under the age of 40 doesn't understand what life was like before the internet, and it's very difficult to explain that to people. I mean, we might have these views of what happened in the past. Folks might think of what the 90s or 80s were like, just like when I was living in the 90s as a teenager, I thought about the 70s and 60s a certain way. But ultimately, the world's never the way we really remember it, even if we were there. It's our own perspectives. Now, as for the internet itself, it's become a cesspool. And I'm not talking about, well, many different factors, like the dead internet theory you may have heard about. I'm not going to even touch on that here, but it's definitely worth looking into. It's very interesting stuff. But, you know, beyond all the kind of woo-woo and weird speculation about different aspects of how it could help humanity, how AI is changing everything. I mean, no matter how you look at it, I mean, I've been waiting for this day when AI started to take stage. I've been hearing about it for so long, and I've always been interested in science and space and quantum computers, things like that. And I'm like, one day, dude, you know, these things are going to outthink us. But the argument between whether there's free will, determinism, whether computers are conscious, none of that matters to me. What really matters is how smart is it according to what it needs to do. Most animals are programmed to do what they do. A computer is programmed to do what it does, and without the human emotion, something is even more dangerous, is the way I see it. So we're living in a very precarious time where, and I bring up AI because we don't even know if what we're watching is real anymore. We don't know if a picture we see or an article is produced by a computer or a human being. And that's interesting. Very interesting. Well, beyond all of that, the whole, you know, whether the internet is a good or bad thing, as I say, it's a tool. Like anything else, it's always been a tool, and it depends on how you choose to use it. But Google, for example, which is one of the the predominant search engine, their searches are garbage. I mean, everybody knows it. If you go and search up a question on Google, you're going to get an answer that is probably not 100% accurate, and that's kind of sad, considering we've been at this for a couple decades. And I think that we can easily make real information more available if we're not compromised, if our integrity is not compromised by the desire to get ad revenue. So if a company is selling something and it goes against what we know to be true, people are willing to kind of compromise their integrity and change their values because it's worth it to them to make a few bucks, to lie to people. And Google's been doing this for a long time. And I don't know how to feel about whether it should be free or paid. I'm kind of the mindset that, yeah, we're going to have to pay for the things that we want ad free. But it's more than that. We already pay for our internet provider, our internet service. Then we pay different websites. Then you have guys like Elon Musk who come into Twitter saying he's going to save the day on Twitter and ends up charging people just to even have a verified account. It's a funny world. Like, everybody has to pay. But the question is, what do you get out of it? And are you still getting ads? And anyway, none of this really matters, because the big picture is that what we had as a communication platform, the internet, is falling apart as vested bigger interests finally start getting their little mitts into it. And then we have influencers. And this is the part that bothers me, I guess, the most. The fact that I could sit here and say, oh, by the way, this video is sponsored by BetterHelp. And make this clear, no, this video is not sponsored by BetterHelp, and I do not promote their company. In fact, I looked them up in their Better Business Bureau. They have like 500 something complaints in the last few years, and they're very specific complaints about how they were supposed to meet with these therapists online, and they didn't show up, and they had to reschedule 4 times, or they were 20 minutes late. Total unprofessional. And I've heard a lot of people say they wouldn't talk to me about deep subjects. These are people who need help. You say, oh, I needed to talk to a therapist. I think of guys like Mr. Ballin. He does like scary stories and stuff. He's the biggest sellout I've ever seen. I'm not faulting him. If he's out to make money, that's what he's doing. Just like all these kid YouTube channels. It's about the money. It's not about the content. Content doesn't even matter. A lot of these people just cover stories that somebody else covered last week. Anybody who's in the YouTube community knows that, once one guy does a video about something, 5 other guys on YouTube do the same story. It's just how it's always been. But I guess back to, as far as the AI thing goes, it's going to have the exact same problems and the exact same issues we had beforehand, because even if we're searching through AI, it's referring to the same web pages that we already know are often compromised and corrupted. So it is important to remember that the internet is a false view of the world. It's a false look into what's really going on out there. And when you're being sold to, you should know it. So back to growing up in the 80s, I was sick of advertisements, people selling me a bunch of junk. But at least I knew when the commercials came on, it was a commercial. Now some of my favorite YouTube channels have sold out to using AI voices and, bullshit stock photos and videos that have nothing really to do. They mentioned something about somebody crying, and then they show a picture of a mountain. It's like, dude, are you fucking kidding me? Like, it's visual stimuli, a visual feast with no content. And I can call myself out on a lot of this. I just sit and gripe. I'm having a deja vu right now. So weird. From like making a video like 4 years ago. God, it's so weird when that happens. It's pretty rare. But anyway. I know a lot of folks say that we have a short attention span because of the internet, and I'm not going to argue that point. Oh good, I've got 9, 10, I have 3 more minutes to make my point here. Our short attention span is only depending on what we listen to. This is why people love Joe Rogan, and people hate Joe Rogan. People who are unable to listen for a full 3 hours. Like, I just listened to his podcast with Duncan Trussell. It's one of my favorite guests he ever has, and he has them every a couple times a year at least. And they just sit and bullshit and laugh and act like dudes and don't give a fuck. And that to me is so awesome, to show that side of humanity exists, and that they're showing that to the world. That they're not just trying to pull one over on people and do a bunch of merch plugs. It's just like a couple of dudes talking. Fucking dope. But some people hate that. They think Joe Rogan's a racist or a transphobe, and they focus on these stupid things they see in the media. This is another problem with the internet. If you hear somebody make a claim on Twitter, then all of a sudden you're going to believe them because that's what they said. not because you did any research and listened. But the short attention span matters because most people can't listen to a full 3-hour podcast. So the internet isn't the problem, it's how we're using it. And then we're lonelier than ever, statistically. That's pretty crazy, isn't it? That we're lonelier than ever in a time where people are claiming we're more connected than ever. But, we've got apps, emails, distractions, notifications, bell icons, all that crap. That's why I never say, hit the bell icon or get notified. Like, I don't want to be notified from shit. I don't have apps on my phone that notify me. It's something that is extremely distracting. And I live in a society where people expect you to answer, right? When they email, like right away. Don't like it. I don't like it at all. I don't like it when people expect me to answer their calls either. I do it in my own way. But as I said, it's sad because the internet tends to cater to our own worst impulses, and we know this. And we're trying to figure out how to navigate that space. Sorry for moving the camera, but I have to see when I'm out of time. I've got about 50 seconds. But that's about all I wanted to say. We have the same problems with the internet as we had before, but they're magnified because it's an illusion that things are a certain way. It's an illusion that everybody's out there trying to get you, even though the people who are probably trying to get you are the very ones who are making videos about everyone else trying to get you. It's like a projection. Like, by the way, this is brought to you by Patriot Food Supply and, all this other shit. Are you a real patriot? Buy this, buy that, I'm just sick of it all, and that's why I'm losing faith in even making videos myself, and just kind of losing interest in it all. But that's another story. I'll talk to you next time. Peace out.